Hello, CD. Welcome back to Truth Matters. Continuing our series in basics of what Truth Matters is all about. We've discussed that Truth Matters is about epistemology or theory of knowledge. How do we know what we know? And we'll get into theory of reality later, or ontology. Two philosophical questions. If anyone wants to be a philosopher, they can simply ask two questions. And philosophy, the Greek word for philosophy is love of wisdom. Wisdom is a good thing. The love of wisdom is a good thing. To be a good philosopher, only ask these two questions. How do you know that? How does one know a thing? And what is real? We discussed the epistemological question, epistemology. Episteo is the Greek word for knowledge. The word epistles in the New Testament, we read about the epistles of Paul, other epistles conferring or conveying knowledge of a thing. Epistemology, how do we know what we know? We discussed last time that we know some things from a foundation, an appeal to authority. C.S. Lewis said that 99% of what we claim to know, even in the scientific community, comes from the appeal to authority. When I say I know a thing, I'm basing it upon one authority or another. There is another school of epistemology called Coherentism, foundationalism, and coherentism. Coherentism, bear with me, I'm going to make this real simple since Truth Matters is about plain truth to plain people. Coherentism is a claim to knowledge based on how that claim fits with other theories and notions and ideas. How does this bit of knowledge or claim to knowledge, how does this fit or cohere with other existing bits of knowledge? Coherentism accounts for why most conspiracy theories fall apart. We're hearing an awful lot about conspiracy theories these days, fake news or other. Well, fake news and conspiracy theories often are more complicated than the explanations that are given for them. The moon landing didn't really take place. All kinds of elaborate conspiracy theories that, when compared with other theories and notions, they just don't hold up. They don't cohere. They fall apart. We might think of a puzzle to make this simple. Think of a puzzle with a bit of knowledge or a claim to knowledge and how this fits in the puzzle with other existing claims to knowledge. We might also think of a detective with bits and pieces of information that he already knows, and he seeks to put the other pieces of information together to form conclusions. This type of reasoning done by a detective is called abduction or abductive reasoning, whereby facts and bits of pieces of information are put together to form a theory or an explanation, the best explanation. As Sherlock Holmes would say, elementary, my dear Watson. And he would give the explanation for all the seemingly incongruent facts and come out with the best theory. Even many people who have not read G.K. Chesterton, the great English writer, I'm quite fond of Chesterton. Many people are fond of his character. Who've never heard of Chesterton, Chesterton's favorite character is the priest detective Father Brown, who would put things together and come up with the best theory or explanation and solve the mystery. For many years, the legend or the story of King Arthur was thought to be just that. But years of study and research drove G.K. Chesterton, who was a brilliant literary critic, it drove Chesterton to the theory or idea that there really was a historical King Arthur upon whom the fables and stories were based upon. This, Chesterton thought, made more sense than saying there really wasn't a historical figure in the first place. There is a movie out now, The Case for Christ, accounting the former atheist journalist Lee Strobel, who lives in the area where I live, the Woodlands. The Case for Christ recounts Strobel's journalistic endeavors to disprove the sham of Christianity, the hoax of Christianity once and for all as he imagined it. But as Strobel's put together all of the various facts about Jesus, his life, his death, the claims, the evidence, all of this information formed a case for Christ, a case that Jesus was who he claimed to be, that he rose from the dead, that there was a resurrection upon which all of the rest of the New Testament coheres. Apart from a resurrection of some kind, however one understands it, we do not have a New Testament. So as a result of his research, Lee Strobel's, like Chesterton, came to the conclusion of a really real Jesus Christ, and that Christ and the reports about him were true, and he became a follower of Christ. What do you say about the evidence for Christ, or the case for Christ? Have you considered all of the evidence and how it coheres? And what are your conclusions, and what is your explanation? All right, let me hear from you. We'll talk later. Thanks.